same is going to happen with this window that's going to be installed into the ark, that it is going to be completed in and of itself, completed with all of its own functionality, and then you can move on to the next step after you've done this one. Again, as signified by the shape of the note, wall before, and then continue on. Milmala, this is a katon. This is the two dots on top of the second mem. From above, number 6. The light source shall be installed from above with an aperture on top of the box rather than pushed through from below, as suggested by the bipartite shape of the reading mark and by the expression la teva instead of bateva. So it is going to be made for the box, not in the box. So therefore you're going to install it from the outside to the inside, not from the inside to the outside. From the inside would be ba, within. La, if you're doing it for it, then you take it from the outside and you put it in. Milmala, that the word that we're talking about, from above, is going to tell us that it's going to come from the outside and it's going to go to the inside. We've got those two parts to the note. And we bring further elucidation on this. And B, it shall be done this way for several reasons. A, to obliterate tightly the orifice from the light. The orifice for the light, I should say. The overlapping from the outside will increase the security of the placement. By being above, it will collect and deliver maximum light. Because of the positioning, it will prevent the sight of floating cadavers and prevent even a minimum of joy from achieved safety. The attraction to look upwards to the light will stimulate meditations and prayer to God above, just as the light from above was essential to keep order in the ark, so the light of creation important to keep the world in proper order through the Torah. When the teaching of the Torah was ineffective, Zohar took alternative positions of spelling. When rules of creation were ineffective, the letters Aleph, Tzadi, He, Resh were changed to Aleph, Tzadi, Resh, He.
Can you explain that last part?
That I'm going to have to look up. I'm sorry. There is obviously something Kabbalistic going on here, and I will hopefully have an answer for you next week on what the explanation is. The main focus of what he's saying here is this is not only for the sake of the construction being appropriate and secure, but it's also, if you put a window in the side, you would truly see more of what is going on to the world and to the people, and it would focus you on either them and make you joyful in your righteousness, or make you horrified. Whereas the focus is, you are here, you're being protected from above, and the only connection that you need is your connection to above.
So if you put the window in the top, from the top down, then you couldn't really go with Rashi's explanation of the Zohar being from a window, because then it would rain directly into the ark. You would need some kind of protective barrier. So some kind of prism to focus and magnify the light, which Sanhedrin said, or it was the Gemara's explanation, makes more sense here.
Again, a glass window is a glass window. You can have a skylight in a house.
Right. So it's not, I guess what I'm saying is it can't be just simply an aperture, a window with no glass. Like, there has to be some kind of barrier.
Yeah, for sure. Either the glass, the skylight, as Jeff said, or...
Yeah, so the only question was it clear to be able to see through, or was it just something that was opaque but allowed light to come through and possibly to brighten?
Did they have glass then? Because like faience, was like from 100 AD, right? So, and that was the more opaque, sandy kind of glass. Clear glass they didn't come up with clear glass until a couple of centuries in the Common Era.
It may not have to have been glass in the earlier structures here.
Saran
Instead
wrap.
of windows. Well, yeah, or they just had skins that they oiled, they greased, that would allow, translucence to allow the light to come through, protect against the elements.
And then how would they get the brilliance of the Sohar, of Soharaim?
I think that's what
But again, the question is that a function of just the material that it's made of, or is that a function of the light that's going to be coming through? So if the material is there to make the light brighter, then it would be, as described by Rabbi Yochanan, it'd be something that's opaque, but focuses the light and makes it brighter. Whereas you might just have a very bright light shining through something that is clear and allows all the light that's there to come in. That we don't have an answer to that.
But clearly, I think it has to be something that's man-made. It can't, because it's a Sohar Ta'aseh. You have to make it.
You have to make it in that it will be another step in completion of the ark, which has to be done step by step, has to be done in cahoots with his vision of Vizeh, and has to be done such that it is waterproof and safe and so on.
Yeah.
So
I prefer to check. I think it's you have to make sure this feature is there, right? Whether it's man-made or the stone that God created. That feature has to be part of the table. But don't overlook it because it's a problem.
Number 7, ufetach, and a door. This is a mercha. The ark must be accessible, and a door shall be provided to accommodate entrance for all users, as expressed by the directional shape of the reading mark. So mercha is going to lead into the next word. So you're going to have a way to lead into the ark, and that we have because we've designated with a mercha. Hateva, of the box, number 8. The purpose of the box was foreseen to serve the survival of many kinds of occupants. Therefore, it should not constitute any obstruction to anyone, as supported by the closing shape of the directional reading mark. So again, Hateva has a tipcha. This is something that's going to gather from what we had learned before. Fetach, the opening, is going to be for the teva. It's going to be for the purposes that the teva was built for, and therefore, if an elephant is so tall, the door has to be at least tall enough to let the elephant and the giraffe in without having to bend.
The first rules of accessibility.
Yeah, for sure.
Bitzida, on its side. Again, we have the its because of the dot and the hay. This is a munach. Number 9. For convenience of the general use, the point of embarkation shall be placed on its side rather than in front or back, as specified by the shape of the reading mark. This is a munach, so it closes off from before and then moves from where it's going to go. So this is going to exclude any other places that you could put the door, and it's going to have to be bitzeda, on its side, and that's how the reality is going to be from that point on. Remember, we had 3 separate compartments that are separate from it, 3 equal size separate compartments, and it becomes more difficult to go from one to the other if you're going to put the door at the front to the back or the top rather than on the side. Hasim, you shall put. This is an etnachta. This is again a stabilizing force, possibly with the ability to look up from there. You shall put. Number 10. While choosing a spot for the installation of the door, You shall put it in a place where water tightness could be maintained and the durability of the construction would be preserved, as illustrated by the stabilizing shape of the reading mark. So again, you're going to put it, but you're going to put it with consideration for the stability of everything that you've built up until now. So it's not just randomly deciding afterwards where am I going to put it. It is going to be considered. It's going to continue with the concept of stability of the entire structure. Tachtiyim, with a tevir under it, lowers, number 11. So again, tevir has this outer shell with the inner stable core. The compartments shall be and this is a word that you read with a pause after it, sort of like a comma after it. The compartments shall be placed on 3 levels. The lowers shall be used for storage of supplies and for rubbish, as conveyed by the shape of the reading mark. So this is going to be the lower part, i.e. there's going to be just the shell of the ark underneath it, and it's going to be contained. It's going to be something that is going to have stuff that's put inside of it. And again, because it's a tevir, it's separated from what comes next to it.
And it's sheltering something. Like there's something inside something else.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're in the bowels of the ship.
This is so I think it's being sheltered by the ship.
Mm-hmm.
Shniyim, seconds. And this is a mercha. The seconds above the previously mentioned level of animals which do not require much light and find comfort in relative darkness, belonging mainly to the unclean animals as demonstrated by the directional shape of the reading mark. So this is a mercha. It's going to lead into what's going to come next to it. So it seems that we're going from below to above. So with the tachtiyim, with that previous word, you've got the outer shell of the ark, and then you've got something inside of it, and then you've got the next shell with this mercha, and it's going to have, again, because it's going to be a darker place, there's going to be a floor on top of this, so this has got to be all of those animals that like to live in the dark on this level, and he makes the comments belonging mainly to unclean animals. So he's specifically told to bring 2 of every animal, but 7 of every animal who is tahor, 7 of every animal who is pure. So I think when he's referring to unclean here, he's referring to tmeim, ritually unclean, versus necessarily a dirtier animal.
Mm-hmm.
We will find out later. Ushlishim, this is a tipcha, the highest level of compartments, and thirds for clean animals, birds, and men. They shall be placed in cubicles of the upper plateau as portrayed by the closing shape of the directional reading mark. So here we have the tipcha, which is going to close off from the mercha before. So we've got these separations of the different levels and their relationship to one another in terms of height, going from the outer shell from our tevir up until the top level, as being shown by the tevir mercha tipcha. Ta'aseha, sof pasuk. You shall make it with a plan of convenient reach and proper accommodation for supplies, with a peaceful coexistence of adjacent neighbors and easily controlled order of the inmates. So again, this sof pasuk has the stability, the element of completing something, of finishing something. The way that you're going to make the ark is going to allow all of the things within it to be able to coexist properly. You're going to end up creating stability, not only in terms of the construction, but in terms of the ergonomics and in terms of the animals being able to live with each other and hopefully not eat each other, because you've only got 2 of them, and if something gets eaten, then that's a problem. Pasuk Yud Zayin, Va'ani, and I, with a revi'i on top of it. Number 1, after waiting for signs of improvement, there were none, and I decided to start action and bring an end to that situation, as pointed out by the broad meaning of the reading mark. Revi'i is again going to be something that is going to stand on its own, and it's going to sort of establish a reality. It's going to set something into fact. So God is saying here, and I am going to make the new situation become the reality. I'm going to set this new existence into being. Hineni. This is a Tlisha Ktana. Let's go back to our introduction again. We are on
LXVI, number 20.
LXVI, number 20, Tlisha Ktana. Tlisha Ktana is a king of an achievement that finally occurred after previous preparations. Because of that, he's placed on the end letter of the word, pointing backwards. Tlisha Ktana always has one reading mark that is on the last syllable of the word. If the accented syllable is earlier than that, then you will see 2 Tlisha Ktanas on top of a word, with one on the accented syllable and a second one on the end. And Dr. Seaman is saying that this is because it's looking back to things that were done before it. If you look at the little tag on the bottom of the circle, it's pointing back to what happened before. As opposed to number 1, Tlisha Gdola, where the little tag is pointing forward to what's going to happen after it. So again, that's why it appears on the end of the word and has this backward-looking tail. Hineni. So again, it's going to include what has come before, and it's going to emphasize the word that it's going to be on top of. Readily I. Number 2, my extended patience is reaching an end. Readily I must apply my attitude of judgment and make all guilty participants responsible for establishing a generalized chaos, as denoted by the shape of the placement of the reading mark. So here he's saying that I'm going to look back, I'm going to see that nothing has changed, and I'm going to have to make this new firm reality with va'ani, and I'm going to do it now, hineni. Mevi with a pashta. Number 3, I intend. So pashta is going to slightly emphasize the word, and it's going to lead into what comes after it. I intend to bring an equivalent punishment by creating a deadly kind of chaos, mida keneged mida, which will erase all signs of what had been established, as indicated by the directional shape of the reading mark. The concept of divine justice is always portrayed as mida keneged mida. There should always be an understanding of how that particular sin led to that particular punishment, because the punishment in and of itself has to be a merciful act, a way of you at least gaining understanding of what you did wrong, so that you will, through experiencing the punishment, say, oh, that's what I did wrong, and recognize it as a wrong. So it has to exactly fit the crime. It has to be mida, measure for measure. So what I'm going to bring, Mevi, is going to have pashta. It's going to be an established fact that what's going to come is going to be fitting. Et hamabul, this is a mercha, and sometimes we will have this phrase mercha pashta rather than mahapach pashta. If you remember, mahapach funnels what comes before, whereas mercha gently just flows into what's going to come after it. So with the turbulence, and interesting, he defines mabul not as flood, but he says that it's coming more from the word behala, from the word things that are being stirred up, turbulence, rather than flood per se. With the turbulence, number 4, which will take effect, all previous works and installations will be totally beyond recognition, as stressed by the directional shape of the reading mark. So the Mercha is going to lead gently into what's going to come after it.
Somehow gentle turbulence don't seem to coexist too well. Like you're saying, lead gently into we're talking about turbulence.
So again, the word in and of itself has to be made to fit what sentence structure the note is going to impose on it. So even if the word is a forceful word, you're going to use that force in a way that's going to lead naturally into what's going to come after it. So this new reality that God is going to have to establish is going to flow as if that's the way that things should happen. So this chaos is going to be the natural gentle flow, if you will.
And the natural next step.
Turn the world
Maya.
to chaos.
So we're gonna what are we gonna do? What the turbulence is going to lead into? Mayim pashta, the established fact, and the pashta is going to tell us that it is what we're talking about. You'll notice that the word mayim. If you look at back to the sentence on page 10, the word mayim has 2 pashtas on top of it. And again, we're going to comment on doubling of notes as saying that this is going to be a strengthening of the concept of that word. It's going to make it a more forceful type of that word. So 5 waters. Waters of various kinds and origins will contribute to the effect of the great tragedy, as shown by the double directional shape of the reading mark. So he's saying that the word,
emphasizing the plural.
number 1, the word mayim is plural. Number 2, it's got the 2 pashtas on top of it. So it's going to be, we're going to see later on that it's water coming from above and water coming from below. So that's again a further reason that the plural is used here, and this is a forceful amount of water because we've got 2 pashtas on top of it. Al haaretz katon, over the earth, number 6. All the sources of water will jointly deliver their reserves over the earth, and one will overcome the other, as suggested by the bipartite shape of the reading mark. We've got the 2 dots, which are going to tell us that we've got 2 elements that are going to be here in concert, and he says that one will overcome. You're going to have one above the other, i.e., you've got 1 dot on top of the other dot.
I think you're right. I think it's to indicate water from below and water from above.
Yes, we're going to see that later on with the description of where the water comes from the flood, that it's definitely waters from above and water from below. But specifically with the katon, he's going to say that one of these is going to end up being dominant over the other.
And that's why they're not side by side. That's why one is above the other.
So he's taking that inference from the fact that this note is used here. L'shachet, munach, it's part of a munach revi'i. So munach, as we'll remember, has a firm line and then goes on from there. For destruction.
Complete destruction.
So again, because we're going to use this as a paragraph in and of itself, normally if you look at a translation of this word, the translation is going to be that this is a verb or a gerund, for the destruction of, or to destroy. It is an infinitive, to destroy, l'shachet. whereas he is saying it's for destruction. So not to destroy, but for destruction, sort of turning it into a gerund or into a noun. Again, because it's forming part of its own paragraph. They will synchronize their productive efficiency for destruction. This will be a result of their synergistic action as expressed by the shape of the reading mark. So the destruction is going to take what was, or really stand apart from what was before, because there really wasn't any instance of upper and lower waters causing destruction before, and it's going to become this new reality. And he's seeing that synchrony and the newness of that in the zakef katon, in the munach ravi. Kol basar, of all flesh.
I think that munach there is very important for the reason that you said, and also l'shachet is for the utter destruction.
Yeah.
It's not curved from before. There's nothing that will last from before. It is stopped and it will carry on. And also, we talked about waters above and waters below, and the shape of the reading mark itself has a vertical and it has a horizontal. So you actually see the water coming from above, and the water, filtering across the earth from below, rivers and so forth. Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, if I just to expand on that, in that sense, this is a new level of destruction that's not been created or seen before. But that's why it's that new entity and there's that break. This is almost it's a completely new bria.
And again, that's why it turns into this noun for destruction.
Yes, yeah.
Not a verb.
Mm-hmm.
It defines a whole new category.
Beautiful.
Number 8, kol basar with a revi'i, of all flesh. This will bring on sure death of all flesh that will be exposed to the punitive action as confirmed by the broad meaning of the reading mark. Revi'i is going to say that this is going to be the new established fact. It, again, has its minions, has its things that lead into this revi'i. So this shachet, this destruction, is going to come to kol basar, all of those living creatures are going to this is going to be the new norm that they're forced into, this destruction.
So do you think that here, kol basar, that kol has two meanings? It could be kalal, meaning the inclusion of all species, or it could be kila, it could be finished. L'chalot.
In general, when we see that word used in terms of destruction, it will always have a letter hey at the end. So your father doesn't bring that interpretation into it, and I can't think of an obvious example where the word kol really refers to lechalot, to make something finished.
Vayachal, Elohim, Vayachal Elohim.
That's with a chet.
Yes, sorry.
It's a different word.
Vayachal Elohim b'yom shvi'i melachto asher asah.
Vayachulu, Shemayim v'aretz. But again, you're not using the word kol. So I'm specifically talking about the word kol. And I can't think of where those two letters, kaf and lamed, are used to talk about destruction without having a hey after it. It would be a project even to look in a concordance and find that. And kol is a little bit of a common word. Asher bo with a pashta. So the revi'i sort of stands on its own, introduces the new norm, and then we're going to emphasize slightly the next concept, ashabo, that in it, number 9. Everything that in it that has the ability to prosper and develop as intended at creation will find itself in an altered milieu that will deter its existence as specified by the directional shape of the reading mark. So the nature of each flesh was to continue on and to master its environment and to go on. We've now got kol basar, every living thing, being connected with lishachet. So the new norm for everything